This review was filmed during the 2023 WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes. Without the labor of the writers and actors currently on strike, the works being covered here wouldn't exist. I fully support both the WGA and SAG-AFTRA in their fight for fair treatment and compensation against a system that continually denies them such. While a full boycott has not been called for, SAG-AFTRA has asked that everyone who does media about film and TV refrain from promoting struck content during this time. From what I can tell based on guidelines released, independent reviews do not constitute promotion of work, but as critical assessment of a work of art. Any praise I give to these works should be seen purely as praise for the artists, writers, and actors who created it. If anything, the praise is emphasizing that the writers, actors, and other artists deserve more compensation because they are who make these works possible. Additionally, this video was not made using any studio-provided screeners or materials. Do not support any studios during the strike. If you want to know more information, there are links down in the description for you to follow. They did the thing. They did the thing so well, and I loved every single moment of it. Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest Minty reviews, and we are back for the next episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Episode 7, Those Old Scientists. This is the episode I've been waiting for. This is literally the episode I've been waiting for this whole season, so I'm just going to get right into it like I normally do. Non-spoilers first, then a lot of spoiler section, because I just need to talk about this episode. So, it's going to be hard to not do spoilers in the non-spoiler section. But we're gonna have to spoil at least a little bit of it just because of the premise alone. So, here we go with non-spoilers. So this is the crossover episode that they teased, and it's the crossover with Star Trek Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds. And I knew I was going to love this episode from the beginning, from its announcement, because Lower Decks is what kind of got me back into Star Trek fully, at all, and then Strange New World is what solidified me as a Star Trek fan. So seeing them cross over, seeing an animated show cross over the live-action show, and seeing how they were going to do that, it was so great. It was just so great. Without full spoilers, just to do the premise of the episode, there is some time travel involved. I think they do it in a very humorous but very nice way. And the main thing I love about this episode, beyond anything else, was that the Lower Decks stuff of the characters from Lower Decks and the situation they get into still felt like Lower Decks. And the Strange New World stuff still felt like Strange New World. And it didn't feel like they were like entirely separate universes just colliding together into one weird mishmash. No, they both felt distinct, but both complemented each other so well. So you had the comedy of of Lower Decks integrating perfectly with the actual serious storytelling of Strange New World, to the point where like it just felt like a perfect balance and a perfect mix, and nothing ever felt too much. Now, this was definitely a Strange New World episode. This was not a Lower Decks episode where we got like just constant humor and constant everything. But we got just enough of both, whereas, like, this feels so perfect to watch. Just so perfect. And every single person involved in this episode was delivering on every level, from every way possible. And there's a lot of just, like, little things from Lower Decks specifically, that just made me, like, smile the whole episode. This episode was great. This is easily, for me personally, my favorite episode of the whole series. Like, the whole series as a whole. This has been my favorite thing, and mainly because it is the crossover episode, but because it's also a simple plot as well. It's a very simple plot that isn't really like world ending. It isn't like massive like universe scale. It's just, nope, there's a simple character driven plot, and it works so well with the characters that are in the episode. And that's basically all I can say non-spoilery without getting fully into the nitty gritty of this episode and like the minutia. Let's just get into the spoilers, shall we? So spoilers here, spoilers. So in 3, 2, 1, animation. Oh my god. So they started off the episode in Lower Decks, in the 24th century, on the Cerritos, with Boimler and Mariner talking, and then we got Rutherford and Tendi coming in there too, and we basically find out that the Lower Decks crew are being sent on a mission to go down to this planet where they've discovered an ancient portal. And Boimler's being Boimler, he's like, oh man, I love this planet, I love this whole portal, I love everything about this portal. Now, this portal was discovered by the USS Enterprise. Not the first Enterprise, the second Enterprise, but, Pike's Enterprise. So, a little reference to Star Trek Enterprise there. We'll get to that. That comes back later. A lot later, which is great. But either way, it's perfect Lower Decks. It's just perfect Lower Deck stuff. It's like seeing like a lost episode from the past season or whatever, but we get the Lower Decks crew just lower decking it up. And they go down to the planet. They're looking at this portal. It's a portal. It's just a portal. It's a defunct portal, not working anymore. And Boimler's just being Boimler, just like geeking out over the whole thing. And they're like, yeah, let's take a picture of this. Let's take a picture because it's here. It's whatever. Take a picture, and it activates it. And when it activates it, Boimler does his Boimler thing, just saying some lines from other episodes of Star Trek, which is just great. But he gets sent through the portal, and he goes back in time. 120 years to the time of Strange New Worlds, and it actually flips from animation to live action to show signify the switching of the shows. And we actually get Jack Quaid as Boimler in live action, looking exactly like Boimler does, and he acts exactly like Boimler acts in animation, and he sounds like him, it's a voice actor, but he does like all the inflections, all the mannerisms, everything you get from the animated version of him in live action, and it is so perfect and so well done, and I loved every single bit of it. It's just great. It's great. And it's even funnier as well because it's a time travel episode, and when they deal with time travel, this is now the second time travel episode they've dealt with in this season alone, so I firmly believe they're trying to signify something there with the fact that they're doing multiple time travel episodes with this series. They've got to be doing something there, especially with how much everyone loves this series and loves this crew. They've got to be doing something with time travel, like fully with canon. But whatever, it doesn't matter. So then the episode goes to this whole idea of we need to get Boimler back to his time without Boimler like messing the timeline up something serious, because Boimler, being Boimler, won't shut up about the future. Because he's Boimler. He is geeking out so hard at everything. To the point where, like, he's, like, running away from Una. And that gets Una a bit upset. She's like, what's going on? Like, do I, like, die? Am I gonna die, like, next week? Is this, like, what's going on with me? And no one knows. No one, because it's Boimler. No one knows. But it's hilarious. But then they get a wrinkle in the whole thing where they meet a crew of Orions. Who are not pirates, but they meet a crew of Orions. And this actually ties back to the Lower Decks part of the episode, where Tendi was like, yeah, no, Orions found this. Orions discovered the portal first, and my grandmother was on the ship. And Boimler was like, Tendi, that's not true. The Enterprise found it, and then, gets all angry. So Boimler's trying to help. He's trying to help, basically being like, hey, they're not pirates, they're scientists, just be nice to them. They're nice to them, and they steal the portal. So then it just leads on to a series of unfortunate events there, where Boimler just keeps messing things up by trying to help by using future knowledge, and it making things worse, which is perfectly Boimler, to be honest, perfectly Boimler. But they find out later that the only way to get him back is to power up the portal, obviously, and it runs on a substance known as heronium, which heronium is a very, very rare material that they find out hasn't been produced for like at least 100 some odd years. They don't know what to do. They can maybe synthesize some. They got a little bit, there's a very tiny bit left in the portal to power it up to send him back. So like, okay, let's just send him back. We'll deal with everything else. We'll deal with the Orions, and we'll deal with the grain that we need to deal with. We'll deal with that. Because they basically are able to track the Orions using Boimler's future knowledge. It will track the Orions, and they have to trade their grain that they were going to be giving to this planet that needed them. Set 2, which actually is a reference to Deep Space Nine, was Set 3. But they have to give up this grain to get the portal back. It's the whole thing. But they get the portal back. They're trying to send Boimler back. They're like, alright, Boimler, it was fun meeting you, but time to go home. Don't do this again, please. And they power back up, and then Mariner comes through. So then we get the two leads of Lower Decks in Strange New World, and Tawny Newsome is there playing Beckett Mariner in live action. And just like with Jack Quaid playing Boimler, is doing it absolutely perfectly. Just absolutely perfectly. To the point where, like, there are scenes where, like, she's sitting just like animated Mariner does, and it's like so cool to see. It's a weird thing to say. It truly is a weird thing to say about someone sitting down and it being like, oh my god, she's sitting the way the anime character does. But it's true. It's true. She like both of the Lower Deck actors are doing the exact mannerisms of their animated counterparts to a T. And it's just so perfect to see it. And I love it. I love it so much. Even like Boimler and like Jack Quaid is just like doing the Section 31 power walk that Boimler does. Or he's like doing the Boimler scream every once in a while. Like the Boimler yell sometimes. It's just so funny. He's acting like an animated character. It's so funny. It's just great. And as the episode goes on, we get an awesome scene between Uhura and Mariner, because Mariner's like, I'm such a big fan of Uhura, I'm such a big fan of her. And, it's kind of like connecting to the last episode where Uhura's still not sleeping as well, she's still overworking herself, and Mariner's like, hey, I can write you up for that, because it is in Starfleet regulation, you need to take some breaks, so you're taking a break right now. We get some fun scenes between, like, Boimler, Ortegas, and Chapel. But we get some other fun scenes between, like, Mariner, Ortegas, and Uhura. And Ortegas is just loving everything. She's like, I love both of you. You guys are the right kind of trouble that just this ship kind of needs. And it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun and great. Oh, also I should mention as well, Boimler being Boimler is, like, basically spoiled the fact that Pike's birthday's on Saturday, and none of the crew knew it, and it's because Pike didn't want to tell them. He didn't want to tell them that his birthday was Saturday, because he wanted to do something special about, like, his dad who had died, and he's like, I'm now older than my dad is, and I need to have, like, a conversation, like, with the thought of him about some stuff. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But they basically do this stuff, and Uhura's taking a break, and she's trying to translate this stuff on the portal, and finds out that it's actually this very ancient dialect. And they're like, wait a minute, if it's in this ancient dialect, then maybe we can figure something out from that. And then they realize, oh, wait, it runs on heronium. Well, can we try to synthesize some heronium? Well, Spock and Boimler try that. It blows up, doesn't work. But then they have a phenomenal idea. They have a great, phenomenal idea after Pike just calls up Boimler and Mariner, being like, hey, you guys are causing a lot of trouble, because they try stealing a shuttle to go reverse the trade with the Orions, and they get caught by La'an. And Pike's like, I'm going to lock you in quarters. I'm going to take you back to Starbase 1. They'll be your problem, because I can't deal with y'all right now. I can't deal with y'all. Also, stop telling me my birthday. I don't want to deal with my birthday. And they try to basically be like, well, you know, something's going to happen. And he's like, I already know about the chair. I know about it. Don't worry about it. I know. I understand. And it leads to a whole situation where they basically figure out that there actually is some heronium on the ship that they didn't even think about. And it links back to what Boimler had said initially in the Lower Decks part about the Enterprise. The first Enterprise. Because what they realize, because they do a whole thing where they talk about the Starship Museum, which probably is the same Starship Museum from Picard, which is really funny if that's actually a reference to Picard as well, just obviously earlier in the timeline. That's probably the same Starship Museum. I love that whole thing. But either way, they mentioned the fact that in older ships, what they would used to do is, if a ship got but basically classified the same name, they would take a part of the original ship and put it as the first part of the new ship. Which means that the Enterprise, no classification, just the Enterprise, has a part of the original NX-01 Enterprise on it. Archer's Enterprise. The Star Trek Enterprise. I've now said Enterprise a lot in this one sentence. We're just going to move on with it. And then the Strange New World crew starts geeking out over the NX-01 and about that crew, which is so great to hear as well. So great to hear them, like, mention these casts and these characters that don't get a lot of mentions or a lot of love in any of the series at all. It's like beyond DS9 being the black sheep of Star Trek, it's like Enterprise also is the other black sheep, because it only lasted for like one season and no one talks about any. We do get this heronium. They're able to send back Boimler and Mariner, and they have a lovely little, like, send-off with everyone, where they're like, first off, don't ever come back here again, and don't do this again. But it was also nice meeting you all, and just having a good time with you all, and just be nice. And they're able to work out the deal with the Orions, where they basically are like, hey, we're going to get back the grain, and we're going to give you a very good thing about basically saying that you were the ones to discover the portal, and that it was a group of Orion scientists, not pirates, which then starts changing the perception of Orions for the future, leading to then obviously Tendi being able to be on the Enterprise, or on the Cerritos, and being in Starfleet, which is great because it's all those Orions wanted to hear. They are scientists. They just want to be referred to as scientists, which also means that Boimler caused a stable time loop. Sure. If anyone were to do that, it would be Boimler. Boimler caused a stable time loop, and also somehow rewrote time, and also changed all of Orion culture going forward in a stable manner. So good job, Boimler. You did it. You did a thing. You did a thing. But they sent back Mariner and Boimler as well. And we also find out why exactly Boimler is acting so weird to Una. And it's because Una is in the future the poster girl of recruitment for Starfleet, with the phrase Ad Astra per Aspera on the poster. And it makes Una feel very, like, overwhelmed in a good way of like, oh, I do matter in the future then. That's a really good thing. And Boimler even says, like, yeah, you're the reason why I joined Starfleet is because of all the hardships you went through. This is the reason why I joined it. And that just makes her feel so warm and fuzzy inside and everything. It's a good episode. It ends with a really good note, okay? It ends off with a good note. And they send him back in time. They send him back in time, back forward in time, whatever, to their timeline. Tendi and Rutherford almost come to the point of like, no. We don't need more time travelers here. Just go. Just leave now. They leave them. Meet back with the Lower Decks crew. It's so great. And we find out in the Lower Decks time, in the animated time, that Mariner's actually the one who chose to be on the mission because she wanted to do it with her friends, and she knew that Boimler would like it so much. And there's a really funny scene with Ransom as well, because the voice actor of Ransom is actually married to Rebecca Romaine, who is Una. So there's a really funny scene there, but either way. But we basically find out, like, yeah, the Lower Decks crew are great. They're all great. They love being there. And there's also another funny thing about how they actually refer to it as the TOS era, the original series era, because it's those old scientists, because that's what they were. They were those old scientists. It's like, funny. They did a funny thing there. Funny. And then the full episode ends with a great, like, little stinger of a scene where we go back to the Enterprise and everyone's animated. And it's like, holy shit, they actually doing it. They're all animated. And they're animated like they are in Lower Decks. And it's just funny. And the reason why this is like they're celebrating Pike's birthday. And they say that the Orions, because of the diplomacy that they did there, they gave them an actual real bottle of Orion Ducat, I think is what it's called, with Orion alcohol. And they're drinking it, and they're like, this is making us feel weird. Like, we feel two-dimensional right now. It's like, our eyes feel really big. Like, my arm's not supposed to do this. And then Mbenga Bing is like, what the hell is in this stuff? And they just start freaking out because they're animated. And they're like, why are we animated? They're just basically just drunk and high, which is hilarious just to say that. But it ends off with a really funny note. This episode, as you could tell by me just summarizing the episode and giving my minor thoughts about it, was just phenomenal. It was absolutely picture perfect, phenomenal in every way. And I loved every single moment of it. Being a fan of Lower Decks and being a fan of Strange New World and having these two shows be what fully got me into Star Trek in general, seeing them cross over in such a way that mattered for both series while not having either one feel overshadowed by the other one, even though it was still a Strange New Worlds episode. Having them both feel so perfectly balanced together was such a phenomenal thing to see, and such a great thing to see for me personally. As I said, having both of these series be what got me into the franchise in general, like more recently having this is what got me into Star Trek. And I love seeing it so much, and seeing them all do it so seriously and actually take the time and effort to put the care into it that it deserved, and not making like a big joke fest type of thing. And I love that. I love that so much. This episode was so good, and everything about it was just great, and really well written as well. The jokes were all funny, the references were all great, and it just was such a perfect episode of Star Trek. And yeah, I couldn't say anything more about it. It's just great. It's just absolutely wonderful, and I have been waiting the whole season for it, and I'm glad that it actually delivered on what it was promising, and that being just a great crossover between Lower Decks and Strange New World. So that's my review of Those Old Scientists. This episode was phenomenal, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it, because it's just great. It's just a lovely episode and a great episode for all things that it is. It's just great. So let me know down in the comments as well if you've seen this episode, what do you think about it, and what do you think about the crossover aspect of it and how they did everything in the episode. Let me know all that down in the comments as well. If you like this review and want to see more, leave a like. It definitely helps out for the channel and helps out in the algorithm of YouTube and helps out with all the stats and stuff that no one really cares about, but YouTube cares about those stats. So, if you want to help out the channel, it definitely means a lot as well. If you want to see more of these reviews or more reactions or anything else I do, leave a subscription as well. It means a lot to me, it means a lot to the channel, and it helps us grow. Helps us grow so we can do more as well. And by we, I mean me. I'm doing this by myself, so it helps everything like that. But it means a lot to me as well. If you want to see more, right over here's going to be a playlist for another series you can go ahead and watch my reactions to, so go ahead and watch that. Over here's going to be a video that YouTube recommends for you as well. And until next time, just stay positive, stay awesome, everyone. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, peace, everyone. Peace.